Hey, how you going today? Another nice day here, Misty Acres, Central Plateau, North Island of New Zealand. So right bang smack in the middle of the North Island of New Zealand. Going to look at some we did that the other week, some coloured leaves and winter colour that's not flowers. So we're going to go around and check out a few things that are in the garden that give great colour, and most of them are evergreen. We'll get a few architectural plants, some of them are deciduous, towards the end of the video. So let's go and see what we can find. So the first ones we've got are these Nandina domestica pygmea firepower. They take on a real dark colour, that dark reds and crimsony colours with a bit of yellow still thrown in there. Over the colder months that red turns up. Interestingly, I had another batch I got. I think these may be just the straight Nandina domestica pygmea. So they're the same size plants, but they stay yellow, so that gives a good contrast, I guess. The red and the yellow. The sun on them looks great. You can see some over there in the background as well, under those weeping cherry trees. They get about 2 feet round. These are virtually full size down in front of me, and they're hardy. So they're a great plant, great colour. Probably got a little bit more known and respected and used over the last maybe 15 years. Before that they were possibly more of a motorway sort of a plant, a common plant, but they've got all these newer varieties they've been working on and brought them back into fashion. So as we wander down this path, you'll see quite a contrast in colours. There's the dark green Japanese privet there on the right. But what I really want to show you is the two loropetalums on the right. We've got loropetalum burgundy. There's all sorts of versions of these. There's China pink. Oh, there's lots. They have a real pinky spidery flower. And then this one is iceberry, which is that real sort of, well, it's got green in there in the older leaves. The new growth is a real light yellow chartreuse colour, and they've got the little spidery flowers. Fringe flower is their common name. Interesting, the flowers show up even though they're so fine, and with the coloured leaves you can still see them. So they look great paired together, or even with the green from the other plants next to it. Down here actually I'll find a flower off one of these darker loropetalums. There you go, there's quite a few of these dark coloured ones, as I say. Some of them are darker than others, but if you're after some, you're best just to go to a stockist and see what's there. This little one is a pseudo-winterer, Horopito. This one's called Red Glow. So they have those mottled sort of leaves. It gets about 800 by 800 mil, so just under a metre round over 10 years. Could get up to maybe 1.5 metres in time. Easily trimmable. It's not a very fast grower. I've had this one here for a good 2 or 3 years now. I've got two others as well, 2 other varieties, so we'll go and have a look at those. So these are just the straight native variety, pseudo-winter colorata. So they're quite a light limey green. They still have a speckled leaf on them. And they can get up to 3 meters, 3 by 2, so they're like a small tree, shrub tree. They still have that speckled look. I've got a group of them are planted along here as a hedge. Well, sort of a hedge. They're in a line like a hedge, but it's not holding hands yet. And I've got one more variety. We'll go and have a look at that one. These are pseudo-winter Burgundy Delight. They get about 1 metre round, metre by metre. So they're, as you can see, pretty much burgundy all over. These are still in their pots, and they're probably 300 high, maybe 1 foot high above the pot. I just got these in there for a new area that I'll be landscaping around the properties in a little while. We'll don't worry, I'll catch you in on that one. That's going to be an interesting kind of a new garden that I'm doing, and these are part of the look. Yeah, quite a nice colour. These are another great contrast plant. This one's in its pot. I just got this one recently too. They've been around for years and years. We used to grow them when I was an apprentice back in the 80s. But this one will be going somewhere around our property. So this is called Aucuba crotinoides. We don't have a lot of cultivars of these around in New Zealand. There's picturata, which has bigger variegation. There's gold strike as well. They get about 1.5 meters high, so they're not small. They can get up there. They have red flowers in summer and then waxy berries. They're quite a strong sort of a leaf. Yeah, see that variegation? Yeah. We stuck these artichokes in for a bit of colour, that bluey colour, and they've grown well. So just chop that old stuff off and they'll carry on living and do their thing. But they give that silvery blue effect. Great shape and texture too, so it's all about trying to combine textures and colours. Purples with blues and yellows, and you still need greens, of course. Nothing like a healthy shiny green. But yeah, you get the different shapes and colours. Some orange Carex testacea there. Now these are great little plants. These are Senecio cineraria. That's what we call them in New Zealand. That's actually an old name. Jacobea is their new botanical name. If you look them up, you'll see they've had more botanical names than I don't know, than anything. They've got names left, right and centre. A lot of them stayed the same genus and just changed the species name. Dusty Miller is a common name you'll often hear. They get 1/2 metre high, roughly, 1/2 to 1 metre. They have a yellow flower, tend to cut them off, and they can handle a little bit of shade, but like the full sun. And they're quite a good filler. I buy them just in punnets, 6, and I pot them up into small pots and get them a bit bigger before I plant them out in the garden. And these have been here, I don't know when I put these in, it might have been February. I think, not sure. Definitely wasn't before Christmas. But they're such a cool colour, and that nice leaf on them. So another silvery one like those artichokes. But then you do something like pairing it with a yellow plant. I've got it in front of a conifer there. That conifer is going to get up sort of 5 feet high there. And then you double stack that onto one of the loropetalums that we saw earlier. This is a lighter coloured one. This one might be China pink or something. But you get that whole three-way of colour. And then we've got almost a metallic bluey silver here. This is Chamaecyparis Boulevard. Take my camera out of the sun. You might be able to see it almost shining. They're kind of like a metallic look to them almost. No, that gets up a bit of height too, a couple of metres, metre or so wide. So just sort of like a big pillar. I suppose they'll get a bit like a Thea Smiraged, I guess, that sort of size. Maybe not quite as tall. If you've got a bit of space, these can look good. Cupressus fine gold. So it's a conifer, gets up to 8 metres, 4 metres wide. In 5 years you're probably looking about 5 metres high. This one's running about 2 metres just at the moment, fairly narrow at the top mind you. But they've got that nice colour with the yellow and the green in them. And fine gold sort of suits that fine feathery sort of nature of the foliage. They can handle the salt and the wind, and they're fairly hardy. They can handle it a little dry once they've got going. So if I just back up a little bit, I've got some architectural plants which are good all year long. So they don't have to be, well, they don't have to be. They're not really a winter colour, but they're a winter, summer, all year long sculpture plant. So these are called Pseudopanix ferox, these particular ones. Savage wood, I think is one of their names. So you can see their leaves got that wavy serration. They look like a sawtooth. They've got that amazing rippled bark. See, it runs vertically all the way up the trunk. So I've got them in a group of 3 here, which they're looking quite good. So as they get older, their leaves are going to basically open up and become a wider and longer, well, not really longer, wider and green sort of leaf. So they'll change their shape for sure, but they'll still have that upright structure of the trunk. Then up here I've got very similar in some ways, but different in a lot of other ways. Well, this guy's shaking in the wind. I'll have to hold him still or he'll never be photogenic in his life. So these are Pseudopanix crassifolius. So these are a lancewood. So they're very similar to the other one. Well, similar but different. If I hold the whole jolly tree, it won't shake around. So you can see the leaves on these, they've got more points, more pointed, not so wavy, those pieces sticking out. They've got that stripe down them. But it's a long leaf, long leathery hard leaf, the same as the others. And they'll also develop into wider green leaves, not so sharp looking. Yes, when you have Pseudopanix, seeds come up, you can get all sorts of shapes and sizes. So this one isn't quite a lancewood, but that's sort of what the leaves would go like on the lancewood when it gets older. You can see the bark on this one is different too. So I've actually got some more taller ones, about 5 or 6 footers, so I was going to put a few more in this garden. But they're a great architectural plant in amongst grasses. We're going to revamp this area a little bit, but that's kind of the look you can have. Throw a sculpture in behind it. Bob's your uncle. Oh, there's some more colour for winter too. So this is a cornice, which is dogwood. This is midwinter fire. Goes red, stems like that. We'll have little white tiny flowers that aren't that showy later on, and then it leaves out sort of greenish. They go a bit yellowish later, but yeah, if I get the sun shining on it, the midwinter fire is a good name. So this specimen here, even though it's deciduous, still looks great from a distance. Look at this sky through all the branches, the white stem. So that's a birch, obviously. It's actually a Betula paperifera, paper birch. They're said to have a shorter life than other birches, which is about 30 years, so I don't think that's going to worry me at all. 30 years is still a fair while. If the wind or rot don't get a tree, I guess 30 years is not too bad. They will live to 100 odd years though, in the right place at the right time. But look at that bark, that shines when you get a full moon, or a bright moon. Doesn't have to be on the full moon, but when it's bright each side of full moon. You can see that from the house. Look at the shadow on the lawn from it. It's all just architecture in the garden over winter. So these are great conifers. Look at the colour and look at the size of it. These are Capressus macrocarpa greenstead magnificent, so that's a mouthful. But they just keep mounding up on top of each other, and well, the size that's recommended isn't really worth going by. I think they say a metre high and 1.5 metres wide, but this one, they'll be getting close to 1 metre high, but width probably be up to 2.5 metres by now. But great colour, great with the dew or the mist on them. Early morning or late evening when you can just still see the colour and they've got a real misty glow. But they just keep sending out all these branches that are different layerings, different heights. Got a few of them down through this area. This is my Japanese river. So it's got them cascading and tumbling over rocks. And then got dotted with snowdrops for little white flowers. And there's small azalea gumpos with white. Penstemons that have white flowers once spring and summer comes again. Another one of those loropetalums trained as a standard over there. So this is representing tumbling water down here with the white highlights of flowers throughout a lot of the year. A couple of rhodies at the top. But over winter, these guys are the highlight. So these are another birch. These are weeping birch. These are Betula youngi. So they got fantastic form as well. I can see these every day just outside our bedroom and our hallway windows. They've got that interesting shape, but they've got branches going up, so they're still coming off the grafted top. They're not the wrong shape. Wow, the wind's blowing my camera and me around now. I trim them underneath just to keep them kind of open so that they spread out. I've been doing that for a few years now. When I first got them, I had them in wine barrels before we even built our house. So I knew I wanted them and I had them, I just had nowhere for them. So they lived in wine barrels for a couple of years, maybe a year and a half even. And then they went in the ground and they've done really well. And it's just real interesting shapes. Real reddy, sort of like a reddy, rusty reddy coloured leaves, and the trunk, especially at the top, has got that white colour of a birch. Not quite so much down the bottom. Now, having said that, of course, this one's white all the way. You just never can tell. You might be wanting something, just a standard plant for a hedge, or a bit of colour. Dodonea viscosa purpurea, that'll do it for you. So that's these along here. So I've got them trained, kept at about 2 metres high. At the moment I've got the grasses in between them, so they're sort of a bit of a hit and miss hedge. I didn't want them to be just a constant hedge. I have got them like that around the property. But these I thought would just have them a little bit more separate, so they look quite good when they're done as a separate plant. So they got fantastic colour, hardy. I find when they're standing alone, sort of like this, as opposed to in a bush setting, they can fall over in the wind, so they are all staked, which is why I keep them at that height. And they seem to be fairly good. We have got them out in our bush block, which we'll tour around in a little while one day. And I just let them grow there, but it's in a valley and they've got trees around them, so they don't fall over there, and they're 3-4 metres high. Now this one's a hairy monster. This is Coprosma virescens, pink stems. It's wobbly and solid, and it's big. They'll get higher than this. So I'm 6 foot. This is getting close to me. I'll be giving it a chop back down again soon, because it hinders our view a little bit off the deck. But look at it, look at the size of it. And they're just sort of constant branches that are coming out. They'll just keep mounding out and up. But yeah, they live through anything, handle the wind, handle the dry, handle the frost, handle the sun. I'll bring you up and show you the leaves. They've got tiny little green leaves. Amongst woody stems, of course. These are Acer Felheim. There's some more red twig colour for you over winter. That'd be great in floral arrangements, especially if you wait another 2 months. When you want to prune it, you'll get the stems and the pruning done all at once. So they really show up well. Get about, well, suggested 1.8 by 1.2 metres. That one's a little bigger than that. It's actually a dwarf Sengo Kaku maple. So if you can't have the full size one, you could have one of these. Well, thanks for joining me today. It's a windy old day. Thought I'd take my hat off. You can see who I am hiding here. Hopefully you got some ideas for some winter colour foliage in your garden, some architectural plants. Hopefully you had a few big and small versions there. You may already have things that are going well in your garden and you might not have even have noticed them or looked at them, so now you might look at them in a different light. Maybe it'll give you some ideas for planting something else. We'll get some tours underway. I think this weekend we might be having a look at one. So we'll get that up shortly for you to see. In the meantime, have fun. I'll see you later here from in New Zealand. If you like any of this, click on it. If you want to subscribe, subscribe. If you got a comment, comment. All the best. Thanks a lot. See ya.